Hi, this is Ashley Scher from Share Love Fund. We're going to work on our manual, handout 4, meditation, and this is going to be part 4 of handout 4B, and we're going to talk about the thinking aspects of meditation. So I apologize for having my manual, but I really want to make sure that you have all the information you need to be teacher trainers, and here we go. Okay, so thinking. Every moment of every day, the mind is thinking. Our minds, they never stop. It's like a motor, it just never stops. The thoughts come and go, racing around our heads endlessly. Sometimes one small, anxious thought, it will capture all of our attention, and we'll just focus on this one small thought endlessly, like, why did they do that? Why did they do that? Why did they do that? And the small thought just ends up consuming our entire mind. Sometimes we are off and running and we turn that small thought into a huge disturbing story. Like, this person ruined my life because they did this, and they ruined my life, and they ruined my life, and my whole life is ruined. And that is a very disturbing story because that takes away your recognition of your own free will and your own ability to change things. And that story just becomes repeated, and we'll learn through this meditation how the stories we tell ourselves really can help us or really can harm us, and how it's important to stop and breathe and take control. And we'll believe this story is absolute reality. If you tell yourself, I am here today because this person did this to me, and you keep on saying that, you'll make that story reality. But you need to stop and breathe and think, is that story serving you? What good is coming out of that story? And we might believe this story is absolutely true, even though it began with a simple thought. And that thought might or might not be based in reality. And as you really get deeper into meditation and you really deepen your compassion, you might start to see things differently. And you might start to question some of those stories that you've told yourself. And maybe you'll continue with them, but maybe you won't. And the idea is that you'll have control over the stories you repeat in your head. And it won't be because a small thought has gone on a repeat cycle, like a song that you just have on repeat, and you just mindlessly repeat that story. When you meditate, if you decide to keep some of your thoughts or feelings, it's because you're deliberately making a choice to do so. And you have control over that. Most of us race through life endlessly building our lives and the stories we create from one single thought. Our minds are rarely calm and quiet. Meditation is a tool that we can use to calm our minds and create space around the thoughts and the stories so that our thinking is clear and useful. Meditation is not a way to become thoughtless. Meditation is not a way for mind control or to brainwash you with the thoughts of others. No. Meditation is about checking in with yourself. Meditation is a tool to calm your mind, and it's just a tool to create a little space around those stories and the thoughts that you're repeating. A little breathing room, if you will. So when you have a little space, when you breathe in a little space instead of that incessant repeat, when you breathe in a little space, you can think a little clearer. You have a little more space to really think about it, to really stand back and evaluate it and say, does that make sense? Does that hold up? Is that story, am I really being fair to myself in that story? Am I really being fair to the reality? Is there another way to think about that? Meditation is not a way to become thoughtless. Thoughts are a necessary part of being human. It's important for us to think, and it's important for us to critically think. But we're not critically thinking when we're going on repeat, very tense, on a thought, on a single thought, very tense, repeating it like They did it to me, they did it to me. That's not thinking, that's repeating. So meditation is breathing, taking a little step back, observing your thought, observing it from a little bit of distance, and just kind of acknowledging it and getting a little different perspective. It's not about turning off thoughts, it's about creating space between thoughts. It's all those anxious stories, the confusion, the reaction, and the worries that we create from thoughts that turn into problems. Meditation helps us with this by creating more spaciousness and clarity in the mind. What did you have for breakfast 2 Thursdays ago? Anyone remember? You might find it hard to remember unless you eat the same thing every day. But even if you could remember, you most likely wouldn't remember the specifics. For example, you might not remember any of the details, or you might remember that the breakfast was cold or undercooked. Like if you had an emotional reaction to some part of it, you might remember that from a breakfast 2 Thursdays ago. Sometimes many of us take our thoughts of the past reality when in fact our memory is fuzzy and colored with interpretations, and we assume that we remember it exactly how it was. But you have to ask yourself, this moment that you keep on repeating that you were angry about, if you can't remember your breakfast from 2 weeks ago, do you think that every detail about the story that you're repeating to yourself, do you think every detail is accurate? Or do you think your mind might be like filling in some blanks or something? Because the deal is that it's hard to remember every single detail from something. And sometimes we've just repeated and repeated a story of our own version. And maybe it's the reality, or maybe it's our own version. And what is the purpose of holding on to that? Maybe you have a good purpose, but I just encourage you to breathe and have some perspective and really think, is it serving me to hold on to this? And if it's serving you, then by all means, do what serves you. On the other hand, do you ever think about the future? Do you ever worry about a reality that hasn't happened? Like, I saw this happen to them, will that happen to me? It's important to remember that you have no way of knowing what the future will be, and that you cannot be sure of recalling even how the past exactly was. The only thing you know for certain is the present moment. So if you're having a hard time letting go of a memory that's repeating in your head about the past, because you're so certain that that memory is absolute fact, well then at the very least, can we all admit that we don't know what the future is? So when we keep on having a repeating thought about the future, like something bad is gonna happen to my kids, something bad is gonna happen, like I don't even wanna say it because it's negative, so like let's just erase that. When you have that kind of negative thought about the future, well the thing is like the past, we're not even really sure if our perception and our memory is even correct. And the future, we know that that hasn't even happened yet. So why are you repeating bad news when you know it's not true? Like the things that you're worrying about for the future, they haven't happened yet. They're not reality yet. So they're kind of like not true. So stop repeating stuff that doesn't make you feel good, that's not even true. Does that make sense? When you're constantly saying a fear you have in the future, you're just making yourself sick over something that's not even true, because we don't know what is going to happen in the future. You can think about your kids or the things that are important to you in a positive way, like, I'm sending my love and I know it will work out. I'm gonna love myself, and I'm going to heal, and I'm going to be my strongest, best self, because then I know I can handle whatever reality comes next. Or acceptance of not knowing the future. I don't know the future, but right now I can breathe. So I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna breathe right now. And when a thought comes in about the future, I'm gonna tell myself that I don't know about the future, but I know right now I can breathe. And you can do just that. When you think about the future, you really have to remember that there's only the present moment that we can be certain about. And bringing you back to the present moment is your window into reality. Like, it all starts with you here. This is the most important. This is like your home base. And meditation will help you experience life as the reality it is, which is in this present moment, with clarity and focus. Like, all we've got is right here now. The past, maybe it was this way, maybe it was that way. You ask 5 different people and they'll have 5 different stories. The future, nobody knows because it hasn't happened yet. But this present moment, you got this. You got this moment. And you can choose how to use it. And you can check in with yourself. And you can make space in your head. And you can breathe. Meditation helps with focus. With that, we'll take a breath and we'll end this section. Namaste.